Alrighty, so the first game free out of game free that we're gonna have in the first round of the MLS playoffs is in the books, and well, this turns out to be a relatively grindy kind of match for the Seattle Sounders, where they dominate the whole game, but they only were leading 1-0 late in the game, and we have said before that when you don't kill the game off, it can get a little nervy at the end, and that's exactly what happened in this one where Dallas finally came out of their shell. They finally started to put a little pressure on the Seattle Sounders. Ultimately, the Sounders hold on and win 1-0 in this one, and will now be facing against LAFC in the conference semifinal. Now, early on, Rodon would miss it wide on the header as right off the bat, Seattle was on the front foot. Now, keep in mind, Dallas, they were absolutely crippled in terms of their attack. Already don't have Velasco as their main man, and also no Jesus Ferreira in this game too. So they were really up against it in this one. But I thought Dallas eventually did weather that early storm, as I think that was kind of the thing that Seattle was want. They want to get an early lead in this one. They want to put this away and not give Dallas any chances of trying to get a goal or even come back if they do find themselves down in this game that is FC Dallas. But I thought Dallas did a good job in terms of weather the early storms, and they also kind of created some chances of their own, albeit no shot that was generated in those chances, as the shots were 2-0 through 17 minutes in this game. The game I thought then started to become a little bit choppy, not much really opening for both of these teams, and I thought that was kind of in favor of FC Dallas. I feel like FC Dallas, throughout this game, it looked like they were trying to take the Real Salt Lake route from a couple of years ago, where they're trying to go this entire game without a single shot, and then see what happened in a PK shootout. And I don't think that's a bad idea because Seattle has had problems in terms of PK shootout. I mean, they've lost their fair amount of PK shootout in the playoffs before. Though in the 28th minute, Rusnak would blast it high from long range before Apollo would hit one right to Paz. Morris then hits it to Paz in the 34th minute. Seattle started getting some chances. You can start to see some sustained pressure, but most of these have chances, or most of these chances were kind of half chances, and that it was relatively comfortable for Paz to deal with. Well, that changed in the 37th minute, as in the 37th minute, Albert Rusnak would score from Paulo to make it 1-0 in favor of the Seattle Sounders, and yeah. Apple TV basically had an FS1 moment. So, you know how one of the biggest criticism of FS1, not just because of the bad quality that is going on, the biggest criticism and kind of almost like a meme that it's been made is the fact that they cut through the action way too much, and then somehow we miss a goal. It happened in this one. Apple TV was showing a replay of it, and before they get the action back, the ball was in the back of the net. So yeah, that's definitely not a great look for Apple TV. And again, I know Apple TV has done a great job in terms of producing these games, and they're definitely been much superior in terms of the quality as compared to what we see with FS1 and what ESPN done last year. This was not a great moment. I mean, this was not a great moment whatsoever. This is definitely a moment that somehow where Apple TV, whoever the producer of this game, will be absolutely fuming. I mean, at whoever decided to cut the action, because yeah, again, it felt like it was a very FS1 moment where we miss a goal, and it turns out to actually be the only goal of this game, because they decided to show a replay that was relatively meaningless, and then before you know it, the ball isn't in the back net. Though on the replay, from what we saw in that sequence, it was a turnover there from Ibiaga. A very bad turnover there. I mean, we talked about throughout the season how when you turn the ball over in your own half, bad things will always happen, and that's exactly what happened in this one. So yeah, that gives Seattle a 1-0 lead, despite nobody saw that live unless you're in the stadium. But in the 38th minute, Rodon would miss wide from close range, and all the momentum was with Seattle. You can definitely hear the crowd. They were getting louder and louder, and Dallas was definitely on the ropes. I mean, this could have been easily 2 or 3-0, and that it seems like it could potentially be a blowout. But we do head to halftime with Seattle only leading by the 1-0 over FC Dallas. Now in the second half, Seattle continued to be on the front foot. They were pushing to try to get a second goal. Morris would had a shot that was deflected and goes wide before he curls it way wide from close range. Jordan Morris had a lot of chance in this one, and that I think Seattle will be very happy that they eventually move on, but deep down Brian Schmetzer will not be happy. The fact that his team was being very wasteful in terms of some of their chances, and that they could have put this one away way earlier than them kind of hang on for dear life. Well, I wouldn't say for dear life, but hang on for a little bit, as I'll talk about near the end of this game. But in the 58th minute, pass would deny Morris from close range, and 16 minutes in, Dallas still had zero shot in this game, and there was not any part where I thought Dallas was really trying to go for it on the attack. They would kind of sit in a deep block, which again, I mean, I get it. You don't have some of your best weapon. Pretty much your entire attack is completely wiped out by injury. But at some point, I mean, if you're Nico Estevez, you gotta go for it. Although I think he eventually waits to a point where I think once he started to make the substitution, that's when I thought maybe he would go for it. And it turns out that doesn't seem like the case. I mean, even when he made the substitution, they were still not going for it. They were kind of getting pinned deep. Now, partially that's due to the fact that Seattle did a good job in terms of the press, and Seattle was playing in such a high line where there is a risk in terms of playing a high line where if you decided to turn the ball over in a bad area, or you basically don't get the first part of the press and get the ball back, yeah, you definitely get yourself in a bit of trouble. But Seattle was doing a great job in terms of playing that high line and really not allowing Dallas to get out of their own half. But it's also a combination of just Dallas playing it way too safe, and to a point where I'm thinking they have to they have to go eventually. They can't just sit on this one nothing deficit and not and think that they'll eventually get a lucky bounce that goes in their way. Though being said, on the other end, if you're Seattle, I mean, I feel like they still need the second goal, because despite the fact that Dallas has yet to register a shot, we've seen it before in some crazy MLS after dark kind of thing. It only took one bad bounce and one bad turnover from Seattle, and this game could be tied up at one apiece. In fact, as I said that in the 64th minute, Arriola would hit it high after just there was kind of a little bit of scramble on the set piece. That shot wouldn't have counted because or that shot. Well, yeah, that shot didn't count it, and even if it went in, wouldn't have counted either because the flag went up. But that was kind of a warning sign for Seattle that yeah, one bounce like that, and Dallas could have a chance to get themselves a tying goal. Reagan then puts it high in the near post. 81 minutes into this game, Dallas still have yet to register a shot. And again, this is where I get to a point where I said, if you're Nico Estevez, you have to go eventually. Like they're running out of time in terms of trying to commit man forward and really push for this. As the shots were now 16-0 in favor of Seattle, 4-0 in terms of the shots on goal. And really, as the time winds down in the 87th minute, finally Dallas started to come out of their shell. They finally started to push with a late equalizer, and doing that push, they did register their first shot, and turned out to be an only shot of this game, as Tafari would hit one right to Fry, and despite the fact that Dallas finally did push to try to get this equalizer, and Seattle was kind of holding on a little bit near the end, they were able to hold on to win 1-0 in this one. As the shots in this one, 16 shots committed, just one that Dallas had. That one shot was a Tafari shot in the 89th minute, and that shot was also on goal. So they actually registered one shot on goal compared to four that Seattle has. 8 shots off target compared to none that Dallas had. No shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Seattle has. And possession-wise, Seattle had 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Dallas has in this game. And again, it wasn't pretty by any stretch of imagination, and of course deep down, Brian Schmetzer will probably not be happy of how his team kind of let Dallas still hang in this game throughout the entire 90 minutes, and they kind of had to sweat it out a little bit late in this one. But I think deep in his mind, he also said that, well, this is the playoffs. All they need to do is move on. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be like a high scoring kind of affair. If you grind resort else, as we have seen the Seattle Sounders have done this season, that of course would be enough to move them on into the next round, and that's exactly is the case. And we're gonna see another familiar matchup. So yeah, guess what? We're gonna see another Seattle versus LAFC matchup. I swear, this matchup seems like it's happened every single playoffs. I mean, last year obviously it didn't happen because Seattle didn't make it to the playoffs, but it feels like every time when both of these teams make it to the playoffs, then is going to be a Seattle versus LAFC matchup, and we're going to see it again, and that should be very interesting to see. But for FC Dallas, I know they have a ton of injuries coming into this game. It was pretty much against all odds, but I think Dallas fan will be frustrated at the fact that they didn't go for it a little bit sooner, and they'll definitely be very frustrated about Nico Estevez kind of left it really late to trying to go for it. I mean, I understand you don't want to open yourself up and allow Seattle to maybe get that second goal to put this game away. But as the time winds down, you got to eventually do it. And I think they waited a little bit too late. Well, actually, a little too late is an understatement. They waited until the 87th minute to really start to man for it, and I think that was just way too late. I think they should have put some pressure. Really, I feel like when the subs came in for Dallas, they could have just pushed to trying to get themselves the equalizer, and it's shown during that short spell where they did try to push for the equalizer. They unbalanced Seattle in terms of the defensive end. Seattle was really on its heels at times, and that's going to be one thing that I think Dallas fans will be very frustrated with Nico Estevez, and maybe something that Estevez will hoping being that he wants to have that back of the fact that they should have just gone for it a little bit early if they know that Seattle was kind of looking a little vulnerable when they started to finally go for it and push man forward. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at this game. And as always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game as we have now find out another matchup in the conference semifinal. Tomorrow we'll find out the third matchup in the conference semifinal as we get Houston versus RSM. In fact, we'll find out both of the matchup for the conference semifinal tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we got the last game free matchup between Atlanta and Columbus. And with that matchup being finished, we will basically now know what the conference semifinal matchup is going to be. And yet, we know for a fact that those conference semifinal matchup will not happen for a very long time because again, one of the big criticism in terms of the best of three series is because after this is over, it basically now go into an international break before we go for the conference semifinal. It's almost like this playoffs. It's been separated into two parts where you have the best of three, and then you kind of forgot that. Oh wait, there is still a playoffs continue after the international break, and that's something that I think I'm gonna have to do a video talking about the advantage and disadvantage of this best of three series, and also kind of talk about whether or not if they should bring it back because I definitely have heard that there's a lot of criticism in terms of these best of three series, and I feel like I'm definitely gonna make a video kind of address those criticism and also some of the things that at least the best of three series did bring to the table in terms of this playoffs. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.